sure. And I'm going to share. Okay, let's see how this works. So I had, when I did this videoing in the summer semester, I had a small room, and the way I've been trying to set it up, it just isn't capturing me because I feel like I need to stand up here to talk to everybody. Because if I stand all the way back here and let the camera capture me, I feel like I have to shout to get to Melinda. So my natural tendency is to speak all the way up here, because everybody tends to be in the back. So that's more important to me than capturing myself on video. So I'm going to try and just capture the PowerPoint, and you'll hear me narrating over the PowerPoint. We'll see how that goes. I'm going to release last week's videos, but really I'm just going to release the audio, because all the video is the camera shooting across the room without me in it. That is an option, except I have to, this cable here that connects to the projector, and that only gives me so much. I have an extension cord, but it wouldn't reach. So that's a good suggestion, thank you. I just think I need a different room if I want to do this. So it'll probably be a lot of just me audio, and I'm gonna just try and do the slides. So when you look at the video, all you'll see are the slides, but you'll hear me in the background. Better than seeing just me dart in and out of the screen once in a while. So tonight, yeah, psych rehab methods. So if you work in this field, the principles, super important, we talked about last week, and the values, but now these are like the nuts and bolts. It's like, okay, now that you know the guiding shit, the guiding stuff, sorry, it'd be PG tonight. Oh yeah, but still, don't want to pollute minds. I can pollute yours, not young children's. So the nuts and the bolts come tonight in like, okay, now you have somebody standing in front of you that has a mental illness that needs help. What do you do? I'm sure some of you are wondering. So a lot of it, the focus will be on rehabilitation. Rehabilitation feels good. You know, we love a good success story here in the United States. You know, major athlete coming back from injury. They love that. Any kind of happy story. You know, a lot of times we love the underdog in America, and we love the person that sort of had things not going for them for a long time and then turned their lives around. It's like we embrace that. They're looked at as inspiring. And rehabilitation, when you see it happening, is pretty freaking inspiring, even if it isn't somebody famous. You have a question? No. So this is the reason that we do the job and get in the field. You know, I hear so many people when I used to interview counselors, you all be sitting in front of me and I say, why do you want to work here? Wherever I was. And they'd be like, I want to help people. It's like the common theme. I feel this calling to help people. And so as I've been trying to teach you in psych rehab, help is not, in our world, doing something for the person. Because, why? Very good, Christian. Yeah, we could do something and that would be help, right? It's like, oh, this person didn't have any meds and I called the pharmacy and I straightened out the problem and now they got meds. And that's great. We want to be able to care for people and make sure that they're going to have their medication, but we also want to teach people how to do it on their own so that we don't have to do it for them, so that we can help other people. So the rehabilitation piece of this is big. And so it's not enough to just want to help people. You kind of have to want to be a teacher too. That's why this, I think, worked out for me. So I actually wanted to be a teacher first. And then this job fell in my lap and I said, well, this actually is teaching. Look at it. So, so if you're intrigued about this process tonight and you like a good success story, like many of us do, there'll be a good chance this will be for you, this job. Anyone ever had experience doing a goal plan with somebody? Yes? Anybody else? Okay, okay, yes. Tell me about it, just a little bit.
Well, I currently work on King University as a general education mentor, so I teach a T2K class. With that, I assist students like their transition within the college atmosphere and the climate of it all. And I had this one student who was struggling with being acclimated into the college experience, and she was having trouble with time management and organization.
Mm-hmm.
So I set up, when I was talking to her, I discussed several different ways that we can work on and improve on in her college experience to help her get to where she needs to be.
Okay. So she came in, she was struggling, you're in this helping kind of role. And yeah, a lot of times this isn't just restricted to medical field. It could be anything. Academic, they call them IEPs, for younger students, is the letter P is a plan. So you help people, they'll come in, express some kind of struggle that they're having, and you have them come up with a plan to fix it. And what might the suggestions on that plan be? Like, not the specific things, but like, where would they go for help?
I would refer them to health services
Mm-hmm.
on campus. They can speak to a counselor there. If they need like resources on campus, I would send them to the academic building.
Mm-hmm. What about the like the time management stuff you were talking about, that person needing help with? What did you direct them to for that?
For that, I didn't really direct them anywhere. I told them that it's a skill that they need to obtain on their own and
Mm-hmm.
learn and develop as they go along with college. So I told her different strategies that she can use to.
So you wouldn't actually be responsible for teaching them the skills as much as highlighting what they need.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, so that's a little bit different from the psych rehab practitioner in a lot of cases, which would actually do the teaching as well. Not always, right? We don't always know these things. So sometimes we do have to refer to a specialist. What about yourself? Mm-hmm.
He was a senior in high school about 3 years ago. He had a bad sports injury in his leg.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like right around the time he was supposed to start his first job. And he doesn't do very well with doctors. So I kind of went through the whole process with him, through surgery, going to therapy with him, joining the gym with him afterwards. Because he never used to be here to the gym. So help him handle his leg. And then help him find a job that was going to work. I wasn't going to require him to go standing because he's only like
Mm-hmm. Good. So you did this just as a family member. Sit down and be like, hey, and that's good. I'm glad you brought up something like a physical health injury, because it's really just the same, right? Anyone ever had physical therapy? PT will come in, and first time to meet you, hey, look what's going on. You busted your ankle. So I think, we're going to want to work together for the next 3 months, 3 times a week. The first few weeks we'll do this, and then we'll do this. And then if there's a problem or an issue, we'll, so they come up with a plan, and they have the idea of the exercises and the frequency, how often you're going to come in, and the types of exercises and the things that they'll do if their progress isn't happening as it should. That's why you got involved.
That's why I shadowed him kind of.
Okay.
Because he's very young.
Yep. Right. You bring up the bigger issue of just the fact that change is hard, right? He probably wasn't used to that kind of rigorous, intense exercise. Yeah. And we could have a lot of reasons why we don't want to follow through on a goal, even if we know the goals are good for us, right? Think of something that you've struggled to do, quit cigarettes 15 times and I just can't get that. I start the goal and I could do it and then I can't achieve it. And there's a ton of reasons why. So the plan actually helps people achieve it a little bit better. If somebody has actually written something down, and tell me if this is true, like when it's actually written down and formal a little bit, as opposed to just an idea that somebody wants to make a change swimming up in their head, they're less likely to follow through than if they write it down. Or if they write the steps down and be like, all right, I know I need to do this, but I didn't have an idea. But then I talked to Tibian, and it was like, she helped me figure out the places I need to go. So I'm going to go here this week, I'm going to go here next week. It helps us with accountability. And as you'll find out when you're in your places where you're working, it also is one of those required pieces of documentation, you know, some kind of recovery plan or goal that drives all the services that are to be offered under the rehabilitation umbrella. How about you, Helen? Who did you help with the goal plan?
We have we follow like the strength focus
You have people with developmental disabilities, right? Yeah.
to determine what they can do.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them live in their family.
Mm-hmm.
So once we determine what we can do, some of them can have plans to do dishes after their dinner, or
Mm-hmm.
some of them have to do medication for themselves. They can,
Yeah.
like I said, those plans were like we determine what and what.
Now, does the person have any say in that, or is it staff? They do. Good.
The person that does medication for himself, this is all guided.
Mm-hmm.
And that is approved by his physician.
Mm-hmm.
We just train.
Yep. Okay. So that highlights a really good overlap with psych rehab. We talked to the person, sort of shared decision making about like what's going to help the person, right? And that's different than a lot of professions. Again, going back to my broken leg, my broken arm, and I go in and see a physical therapist and the PT. Catherine's my PT, sits down and says, okay, Derek, so I understand you have your arm's broken in 3 places and you've come to me because you need some physical therapy. So what are you looking to get out of this? You know, and what kind of, rehabilitation do you think you want? It's a little different. That doesn't happen as often in a place like that. Anyone know why? Why don't we sit down and have this like long drawn out discussion about what the person wants out of physical therapy, like we would what the person wants out of mental health recovery? Okay. Yeah, the outcomes are a little more straightforward, right?
People sometimes don't even ask. They just kind of
Assume.
decide for them.
Right. Based on the assumption that what? The person wants full recovery. You know, the recovery of a broken arm is pretty straightforward, right? It gets fixed. There's no individualized, well, this is what my version of the recovery of my broken arm looks like. And it's going to be very different from Catherine's version, right? Think back to Pat Deegan's video from a few weeks ago. You know, the specific look of her recovery from mental illness, from schizophrenia, from sitting in a psych hospital against her will, you know, it looks very different than the person sitting next to her in that psych hospital. But that's different in physical health, where I could have a very similar arm injury to Tibian, and we could both go to Catherine, the physical therapist, and get pretty much the same recovery plan. You know, it might be tweaked a little bit based on, you know, the severity of the injury or insurance or, you know, the person's schedule, their person's size. But generally, it's going to be pretty straightforward because recovery in a physical health sense is much less ambiguous. It's much more straightforward. It's black and white. Recovery from a broken arm looks like this. And there ain't much debate. So there is, though, a bunch of debate when it comes to mental health recovery. You know, what it looks like for me is going to be very different than anybody else in this room, and that's okay. And I think a lot of people, a lot of even professionals in the mental health field still come at people that have mental health needs with this medical model focus of, okay, you come in, I know you're depressed, so I know the plan, and this is the plan to fix depression because it worked for the last person I used. It's not the same, right? It's not one size fits all like it is for a broken bone or curing, a bacterial infection. There's very straightforward means to recovery for more of the physical health remedies. So that's why I asked like different areas. We talked about educational, student role, helping somebody in that case, helping somebody in a family environment, and helping somebody in a professional environment, but in a different type of population. Process is all the same. You listen to the person that needed help. You kind of got from them like what their idea, like what they would like help on. Sometimes you might ask them like, what are you good at? This come at them from a strengths focus. Sometimes you might know what they're good at if it's your brother. And sometimes then you might know what they're not good at too. Whereas that's what you kind of said, you were stepping in because you knew they weren't going to follow the plan. Or, you saw how they were acting in the hospital and knew like, I'm going to have to help my brother out. So the process looks pretty much the same. I would guess even for the 3 examples here, as well as the examples I'm going to show you tonight. So rehab process, you assess. What does assess mean? What? Yep, you figure out what's going on. Assess, figure out what's going on. Oh yeah, I got this bad drinking problem, and did I mention I'm homeless too? And I got this gangrene on my leg, and the cops are after me. I got a big warrant out, and you sit there like, oh boy. So in assessing my problems, got a lot of problems, right? And it's up to me. It's up to the practitioner to help the person prioritize. It's like, okay, it's a lot of problems, but we can do this, right? Optimism, let's do this. So where would you like to start? And helping the person figure out where to start. Because we can't do it all, right? You're going to get people coming into your programs, or you're going to get family members or professionals that say, I have 1,600 problems I need help with. And we can't help people fix 1,600 problems. We can help them fix 1 or 2 at a time. And you'll find that a lot of times the problems are interrelated. So if the person comes in, like Derek was before, gangrene leg, police looking for me, drug problem, no place to live, and you assess me and say, oh boy, Derek, you got some problems. What would you like to work on? What's your goal? And I might say, I want to go to school. What would be your response? Are you sure? Okay. So you might doubt me? What, I want to go to school. Is there a problem with going to school? I'm a young guy, I got potential. Why shouldn't I go to school? Is anyone going to tell me I can't go to school? Okay, good. Anyone going to tell me that's not a good goal to work on? All right, good. So, but in the back of your mind, though, you're probably thinking, like, it feels like you should be working on something a little higher priority here. Doesn't have a place to live. How is he going to succeed in school if he doesn't have a place to live, right? That's probably what realistic you were thinking in the background when you're looking at me and my gangrenous leg. So, but what we've been learning, and I can understand it because you've been saying it, is like, yeah, but the person is in control of their own recovery, and we're working from a strengths focus. So that person must see some potential in themselves to be a student. And it sounds like he really wants to work on this school goal because that's what he wants to do. And you might suggest, like, don't you want to address that leg? Nah, the leg's fine. And that homeless thing, it's like, no worries. It's like, well, if he's not worried, should I be worried? Yes.
You can be like, oh, well, for you to fill it out an application, you're gonna need an address. So let's.
Okay. So you could say that, and I could say, oh, I thought I could be homeless and get services from this program. All right, I guess I don't need you. See you later. So you doing that, you might think you're getting what you want, but you're actually now throwing up a barrier to that person getting services. Now they got to get an address in order to get help going back to school. Now, like, this is a real problem, and I used to get this too. You know, I'd get the person coming in that had this terrible odor to them, college dropout, active substance abuser, come in, tell me they want to be president of the United States. Really? Don't you really? No. I want to be president. Okay. So what did I do? I certainly didn't say, you can't be president, fool. No, that's not what we do. I say, great. That's such a great goal. I wish more of the people that came into my doors to get help from me wanted such an awesome goal like that. What do you think are the things that make a successful president of the United States? What do you think you'd say? Well, you probably don't know because it's a fictitious person. But thinking in the back of your mind, what, college education, maybe, be president? These days, maybe you need to look good, can't have body odor, maybe. Yeah. Maybe the person that's going to be the leader of our country shouldn't have an active substance abuse problem. I don't know. And then you would talk to the person about this, be like, okay, so you want to be president, that's awesome. What do you think are the steps that are going to get you to be the president? Well, I'm going to need an education. Yeah, you're right. You are going to need an education because I believe the last time I checked, a lot of presidents before you have at least an undergrad or even possibly a master's or a graduate level education. So now the person says, okay, yeah, I'm going to need that. And actually, in order to get into school, I have to do an interview to get into school. And I'm going to have to do good on that interview, which means I'm going to have to dress nice. I'm going to look good for that interview, which means I actually got to work on my hygiene. But I'm working on my hygiene not because you told me I need to work on my hygiene. I'm working on my hygiene. Why? Because I want to be effing president. Right. So does this make sense? The fact that you're not going to discourage the person from choosing an unrealistic goal because you'll be able to help the person figure out the essential skills and deficits related to that possibly unrealistic goal that actually do target the things that why they're in your program in the first place. Yeah, they may want to be president, and that's fine. That's their goal. They're going to be way more likely to pursue that goal if they really believe that they want that than your goal of wanting to improve their hygiene. You know, maybe the person doesn't think they have bad hygiene. And maybe you're not the one to be able to convince them otherwise. You know what it might take? It might take them going on 7 job interviews and getting rejected because they stink for them to figure it out for themselves. Oh, wow. Maybe it's my body odor that's causing me not to get this job. And that learning, being able to figure that out on one's own, is the ultimate rehabilitation. And then in episode, job interview number 8, they show up smelling like roses. So that's choosing a goal. We're not going to restrict people to goals we think that they should be choosing. We're going to roll with whatever they want and figure out how to make it work with what we think they need later on. Identify critical skills and resources. So that's what I did with Mr. President. What do you think is going to be, what do you need to be a good president? Need to smell good, need an education, etc. Need to look good. So you come up with a plan, a rehabilitation plan that's got strategies and interventions. So Mr. President is going to start bathing once a day, 7 days a week, in the evenings, and he's going to put on clean clothes after he gets out of the shower, and he's going to do his laundry 1 day a week on Saturdays. And so that's the rehab plan, right? And if he doesn't know how to do laundry, Derek's going to teach him how to do laundry 1 Saturday a month. Or he's going to watch a YouTube video or whatever. He's going to get his friend to help him. That might actually be the barrier. It's not that he doesn't want to do laundry. It's that he actually doesn't know how. And that might be embarrassing to tell somebody. So it's like, that's why I've been struggling. That's why I actually stink, because I don't know how to do the laundry because I've never used this type of washing machine. It's highly embarrassing. Can you think you can help me? Oh, yeah, actually I can. So that's going to be the plan. And then we use the choose, get, keep model, which is made famous by Boston University. And you'll see this model appear in the other formats that we talk about. So sometimes we need help. Somebody needs help choosing a goal. Mr. President didn't need help, but just as many people come in with a goal that you say, you really want to work on that? You're going to get the person coming in and be like, I don't know what I want to work on. I don't know what I need to do. I'm stuck. I'll work on whatever you tell me to work on. That's not good too. Why? Yeah, why isn't that good? But what if they don't know what they want? Right. It's hard to motivate to do somebody else's goal. That is true. But then somebody that just is that doesn't know anything, just may not know themselves well enough, not have the awareness to know what they like and don't like, sometimes due to heavy pharmacological components, heavily medicated. Sometimes they've just been so isolated, either been in a hospital or just been cut off, not really spending much time with other people, just that they haven't really explored their interests. Yeah. They don't think they can do anything. It's like, I don't even know what to do. I'm not capable of working. It's like, why do you say that? Well, I've never had a job before. It's like, okay. So you don't know if you failed, flip it around like that. So some of it is choosing. So it's like, I need to figure out what I want to do. And that's a real viable goal to help somebody come brand new into your program. For the next 3 months, I'll figure out what my likes and dislikes are. I'll explore my interests. For the next 3 months, I'll figure out what goal I want to work on for the following 3 months. That sounds like a little funny. It's like, for the next 3 months, I'll figure out my goal for the following 3 months. Like, well, if you come in brand new and you've been in a very traumatic situation, oh, come on, man. There's got to be some missing signatures here. Okay. Yeah. Does anyone else not sign at all? All right. Hold on to it then. All right, so then you might have a person that chooses something, they know what they want, and then it's a matter of getting it, right? I want to get into school. I want to get a college degree. I want to get a job. I want to get sober. So that's the act of getting something. And that's, the straightforward rehabilitation, I think a lot of people think about. It's like, all right, how do I help this person get a job? They need a resume. Okay, how are we gonna figure that out? Okay, now we need to figure out where there are available jobs. And the rehab plan is pretty straightforward in that case. And then keep, the person gets a job, success. Do we as rehabilitation counselors just walk away then once the person's goal is achieved? No, but there's so many other people that need help. Why not? Of keeping the job. Yeah. It's like, it's definitely real hard to get a job, but the work doesn't stop there. What do you need to know once you have a job? I need to make sure I can get there every day. I need to know how to resolve this interpersonal problem that I had with my coworker, and I don't want to scream at them and get fired. So let me talk to my counselor. Or there was a problem with my paycheck, and the last time this happened when I was working 10 years ago, I went in and punched the financial guy, and I don't want to do that and lose my job. So can you help me? Right? There's so many problems that can happen once you've achieved a goal to kind of help you keep it. Right? I've achieved 6 months of sobriety, and now I'm feeling a craving because I'm at this party. How do you keep the sobriety? Relapse prevention strategies. Okay, so that is the basic process for Boston University method. So the hallmarks, what makes it psych rehab? There's a few things here. Some of them we may have seen before. The interventions and the strategies are directed by the person, and they're done with them, not to them. So what does that mean? Done with a person, not to a person. What does that illustrate? Yeah.
You're doing a partnership with the consumers of these services rather than kind of making all these decisions for them.
Yeah.
Directing them based on your ideas and your wants.
Exactly. Well said. I think the key word there is partnership. You know, when you sit down and you say, hey, what is it you'd like to get out of this program? You know, that's laying the groundwork for partnership. Oh, you know, I think I'd like to, you know, get my own apartment someday. Awesome. So, you know, maybe we can get started on figuring out, you know, what would be an ideal living situation for you. You know, that's starting the process. That is doing something with a person. The opposite, to a person, even coming from a positive place. Person walks in, hey, you know, I was thinking I might want to get my own apartment. And it's like, okay, fill out this form. I'll get you the apartment. You know, I'll get you the next one that comes up, and I'll let you know when it's available. Like, I didn't have to do anything. There's no partnership there. It's more like, you know, sort of a customer service type of relationship. You go into a store, you ask for something, they get it for you. They don't teach you how to find it in the store. Why? That's not the point. If you were an employee, a new employee, and you were getting trained, yes. But you're, you know, a customer in that case. All right, number 2, environments of choice. So we said as one of the principles, specific assessments related to the person's environment of choice. So if I wanted to get my own apartment and you were helping me, you would assess me, not everything skill I needed to know under the sun, but just that environment of choice, the living environment. Okay, you want to get your own apartment. Let's talk about your skills. Do you know how to pay your rent on time? Do you have an income? Do you know how to talk to a landlord? Do you know how to keep an apartment clean? Notice I'm not asking, you know, do you know how to stay sober? You know, because it's might be funny to think about it, but one does not need sobriety to be able to keep an apartment. You might need some basic levels of self-control, make sure they don't, you know, recklessly lose it. But there's plenty of people out there that have drug and alcohol problems that have their own apartment and they get by just fine. So we're only going to assess people and the skills pertinent to achieving that goal. Right? And then the last one, valued social role. So we might be attempting to reduce social isolation, might be one example. If it was the person who wanted to get his own apartment, who'd been living in a shelter or a boarding home, the valued social role might be, anyone want to take a guess? Guess not. Independent person, yeah. In a permanent housing situation, something like that. So we're not going to set a goal that doesn't relate to a social role. You know, we'll talk about one. I tried to put one into the quiz. All right, so there's a few phases. Phase 1, what do we do first? Diagnosis. From the psych rehab technology perspective, the term diagnosis doesn't mean what you think it means. It does not mean what it means in the Diagnostic Statistical Manual. A rehab diagnosis is based on the consumer's choice of environment in which he or she wishes to function. So identifying an overall rehab goal and then conducting both a functional assessment and a resource assessment are all part of the rehab diagnosis. So it's 3 things. Somebody comes in, sets a goal. We're going to talk about how that goal looks. That's the ORG, the overall rehab goal. I want to get my own apartment. And then the second and third parts are assessments related to that. The functional assessment assesses my skills, like we talked about, paying my rent, negotiating with the landlord, cleaning my common areas. The resource assessment is an assessment of the things I have at my disposal, my resources. I have Social Security. I have food stamps. I have a counselor that helps me. I have my medication all set straight. So this is important. It's not actually, this is not always how it's going to be in the programs that you work in. Every goal setting process is going to involve your own agency's set of documents, assessment documents, goal planning documents, and not all of them follow this Boston University method. This is just the way we teach it in psych rehab, and it's going to be pretty similar in that there's person's going to set a goal. Pretty standard. And you're going to assess what they know how to do, what their skills are, and you're going to assess what their resources are, what they have in terms of being able to be linked to things. You know, somebody coming straight out of the psych hospital that's been in there for 10 years, their resources are probably going to be pretty low. They're not going to have many at